Think Realty, thanks so much for joining us on the podcast today. If you're a viewer or a listener, we're so glad to have you. We are here live in sunny Tampa, Florida. We always, during our events, our conferences, always do live podcasts. Live is so much better than going on Zoom. I make Abhi do all the boring, Zoom calls where he has to stare at screens all day. I get to do the fun ones where I'm in person and get to enjoy the company of great people and investors. This episode is brought to you by Real Property Management. Working with the right property management company can put more money in your pocket, not less. Real Property Management provides a higher standard of property management to make sure you're maximizing the return on your investment. Experience the real difference with Real Property Management. Visit realpropertymgt.com. That's realpropertymgt.com. We always thank our sponsors for being a part and supporting the podcast, making it possible. I also want to introduce to you someone today that comes to us from a company called Fund That Flips. So Niels, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and so obviously you're here helping set up your booth and getting all that started. So I appreciate pulling you out and getting you on the show today.
Yeah, super excited to have some folks in town and see what kind of crowd we drive out here this weekend, and trying to see if there's some investors that we can help out and continue to help them grow their businesses.
Yeah, very cool. We love going to new markets. This is our first time in Tampa. We do Texas a lot, and we've done Atlanta, and we've done the Northeast. And we've already got quite a bit of support from really savvy investors in this area. And so I know a lot of the tickets that have been purchased so far, they're coming to the show tomorrow, the next day, are more sophisticated, which has been interesting, because usually, like when we first go into a market, you kind of get the people that are, generally speaking, open to the idea of investing in real estate. Tampa's been like, no, I have 50 units. I'm coming to the show. So it's been really good. So
yeah, Tampa's a pretty amazing market. So there's a lot of local investors that have been around for a long time that have built good books of business, and it's a very partner-oriented community as well. So investors constantly helping each other grow, mentor each other. There's a bunch of good local groups, and it's just been a pleasure to work with the folks here in the city.
That's great. Talk to me about Fund That Flip. Tell me about the model, what you guys do, what you do in the marketplace.
Yeah, so we want to be the most advanced lending platform that's out there for our borrowers, for them to have access to capital, and really be a one-stop place for people to source their funds for real estate deals.
Sure.
What we're primarily focused on is we do a bunch of fix and flip loans as well as new construction spec loans around the country, pretty much eastern half of the United States. A lot of concentration up and down the eastern seaboard.
Sure.
I focus on the Florida region and then the Southeast in general. And we've done a pretty good job of growing out that market by just being hyper-local and focusing on the guys on the ground, understanding the business, and growing it from there.
Yeah, that's great. I saw you guys, it's been like a meteoric rise. I remember when you guys first came into the market, you said it was 2015?
Around there, yes.
Yeah, and man, it just kind of jumped in and expanded in massive ways, and it's been pretty exciting to watch.
Yeah, no, it's been great to watch. Our founder and CEO, Matt Rodak, really built an awesome model that is very scalable for us, and we've been able to attract some really good partners through some of our Series A and Series B rounds that have helped us kind of fuel that growth. And it's just put us in a good position. Additionally, the way that we've stacked our capital on the back end, having access to both private and public money, it's made us very nimble in a changing environment, because we all know the economy's changing, but we've positioned ourselves well to maneuver through that effectively.
That's great. Before we jump into kind of investing as a whole, you guys had a recent acquisition of a software platform, correct?
Correct. We recently acquired Flipper Force. So for anybody that's been flipping for a while, they've probably heard the name out there. It's a really awesome project management platform that allows our borrowers to kind of streamline all their orders, all of their project management, all of their budgets, all in one spot.
Sure.
So we recently acquired them. We brought their team in-house. We're in the middle of integrating them with everything and helping kind of co-sponsor them out to just provide another resource. Again, coming back to just being that good source of reliable information and just a good real estate platform for investors to use. So while we're here at the conference, we're actually promoting it with a 30-day free trial to anybody that wants to sign up.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love it. I love when especially in the lending space where there's innovation. It's one of those spaces where you rarely see innovation. So it's really cool that you guys are building that out for your clients.
Yep, and that's how the business has been built. So we started it with our dual lending platform of having access to that retail capital from accredited investors around the country, most of whom have flipped properties, built houses, and just said, you know what, I want to go put some money to work.
Sure.
Instead of doing a project themselves, let me see if I can invest with Fund That Flip and help other investors build their businesses as well.
Right. Yeah.
And that's been awesome. And
so you guys still have that both sides, right? Like
Correct.
you are lenders, but you also have the fund for people
Correct,
to invest in.
which allows us a lot of flexibility,
Sure.
maneuverability, and just being a reliable, confident source of capital that our investors and our partners can rely on.
Sure.
We'll show up, we'll be there,
Yeah.
and we won't lie about it.
That's great. The market is changing a lot, right?
Yes.
Interest rates have already risen significantly. There's another significant rise on the horizon. And nobody, Einstein said that any 5 variable problem cannot be solved. And there's way more than 5 variables in the marketplace today. And so anybody with a crystal ball, it's like that, unless you're psychic, you really don't know what's going on, right? Like it's really difficult. But I think that there's lots of good strategies to make sure that we're mitigating any changes or risk in the marketplace. One of those things are having a partnership with a lender, right? To be not look at a lender as just some commodity that you are out rate shopping. In this marketplace, it's important to have a relationship, right?
Correct.
For somebody that understands. And that's what I love about you guys, is that you're the boots on the ground part, right? Like you actually have somebody that'll walk the job, look at the deal, look at the opportunity. And really look at that asset to determine is it beneficial for both you as the lender, but also to give some feedback to
Absolutely.
the borrower. Talk to me about that process for you guys.
Yeah, so that's actually one of the things that I handle down here locally. So I try to focus on getting in front of the investors that we work with and kind of understanding who they are, what their businesses are, what their growth goals are, because every investor is different.
Sure.
You're going to have folks that want to grow to 5 or 10 a year, and you got folks that want to grow to 50 to 100 projects a year.
Sure.
We can accommodate either way, but the only way I'm going to figure that out is doing what we're doing here. I'm going to sit down with somebody. Hey, what's your story? What's the plan? I want to understand more than just the one deal.
Sure.
Because anybody can fund one deal.
Right.
I want to be a partner in a business that helps them grow that out, that they can just constantly rely on if they want to bounce ideas off of, hey, how do I structure this deal? How do I structure this partnership to make it most accommodating to lending? What can we do to make this faster, more efficient, more effective? And that's all built on relationships on the ground. You can't do that on the phone. You can't do that via email. You do that coffee, lunch.
Sure.
Hey, let's sit down. Let's figure it out, man.
That's great. If I'm an investor today, I am an investor today, but if I'm sitting out there as an investor and watching and listening, and I want to put myself into the most advantageous position for lending, right? Like lending as a whole, it's narrowing, right? Like it's narrowing from a rate perspective, it's narrowing from a value perspective, but also from a selection perspective. If you take a lender that's got 10,000 borrowers, in this marketplace where things are a little bit more risky, they've got more a larger risk profile. They may narrow that box down to a few thousand people or whatever it is. How does somebody put themselves into the most advantageous position to get the lending, to get that partnership that they want? Like, how do they take those steps? What do those steps look like?
Yeah, so it circles back to what our ethos is. It's relationships, right? So the folks that are going to have the hardest time going into this economic cycle are the folks that are lighter on experience, starting out, may not have the most cash on hand, right?
Sure.
So the best thing those folks can do is find somebody who's in the marketplace that will partner, that will work with them on a deal that has some good experience, that has some good capital available on their own side as well. And then you partner up on a couple of deals, you really start getting to be that more qualified, more attractive looking borrower on that side. And that'll help them secure some capital for future funding as well.
Yeah.
On the other side of that is you get to spend some time with a very experienced investor, and you may learn a thing or two. You may pick up some new tricks of the trade that you didn't know about. Right. Which again, partnerships, helping each other out. That's again why I love this Tampa market, because you see a lot of that between different investors. Yeah.
When you look at flips today, and market, maybe not so much in Florida, right? I mean, Florida, it seems. There's a lot of thought around there that the real market change is going to be how much equity is left in some of the assets, because it's like almost the day we started printing money as a country, the assets began to rise in value, right? And most people believe that's probably the bubble that's out there, is maybe that equity that people feel like they have today that maybe doesn't even truly exist. In Florida, that may not be the case. That might be real equity, right? Those values, because there's such demand here, you got 2,000 people a week moving into Florida. I mean, it's crazy.
It's a crazy number.
And however, you are underwriting these deals today. How do you come up with a base value? Do you just reduce the loan to value numbers or your after rehab values? Do you just adjust them to give you a little bit more flexibility? Or is there kind of a methodology that you're trying to say, well, we think that the market's overinflated by this much, and so we're only going to give this much value? Like, how do you structure the underwriting of these deals today?
So that's going to vary on what type of project it is. I'm going to look at a fix and flip for an experienced investor much differently than I would look at a new build for a less experienced investor, right? Yeah. So at the end of the day, it comes back to that old principle in real estate that a lot of people have unfortunately let slip over the last couple of years is you make your money when you buy it right.
Sure.
Right? Too many folks were buying at market price or above market price.
Right.
That show's over.
Yeah.
Right? You got to have a good acquisition strategy, and then at that point, what we want to do is we want to see, okay, hey, we want to see that strategy in action. We want to see how that's going to apply to this job or this deal.
Right.
And then what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at that individual property, say, okay, hey, what's it worth today if it magically got rehabbed overnight? Right. So unfortunately, we are seeing a lot more real estate appraisers in the marketplace than we have in the past because it's becoming more of a requirement as an industry in general. But what we do on the front end is we'll take a look at it, and we've got a team of super talented underwriters in our office who all they do all day long is evaluate real estate on a what-if basis of what's it worth tomorrow.
Right.
And then what we're going to pull together is using local market data, using local insight. We're going to try to arrive at a fair valuation, but it's not like we're going to cram something down somebody's throat because, again, that local relationship aspect is you may know something about your market that I don't know. I'm not seeing off of the bigger data because every street is different. You go into St. Pete or Clearwater, you've got a difference between 42nd and 51st. Those are different neighborhoods. So it's getting to that hyper granular level and really understanding it from that basis. And from there on, we just arrive at fair loan to values, kind of industry level kind of stuff, and try to focus on funding as much of the construction as we can. Our biggest concern as a lender is that we don't want to leave anybody flapping in the wind after they close. You've seen investors go out, get overstretched. So we try to kind of plan on that and help folks get into a position that's like, hey, you got your 10 projects, but we've also set you up for a way to execute and be successful on those 10 projects. I don't want to write 10 projects that you can't go finish. So that's really what we focus on with folks. And
makes sense. Let's talk new construction. Is there a hot spot for where you guys like to lend in new construction today?
Yes. So Florida and the Carolinas are super hot for new construction. That's probably where we're seeing the most of it. In Florida, I see a lot of it in Southwest Florida. So kind of Cape Coral, Punta Gorda, Fort Myers. Those areas are seeing a lot of growth in the new construction side. A lot of the older cities like Tampa, you see a lot of knockdown, rebuild kind of stuff. That's most of what Miami is knockdown and rebuild on new construction, just because there's no land left. But we got a massive appetite for it. We've always written a lot of new construction, and we want to continue to do so. And again, we're just going to take a good look at it, make sure that we're doing it with good operators in good markets that can continue and pull through on it, because that's probably the riskiest type of asset that's out there right now. I don't know what's happening in 8 months with materials, right? You never know. It's not something that I can control. It's not something we as a firm or the investor can control. So it's something that we just want to pay attention to. But anywhere in Florida, the Carolinas, super hot for new construction.
That's the hot market. Very good. And what's a new construction loan look like if somebody goes with? I know that there's such a desire for that, and I know a lot of lenders have started to pull back on some of that because they feel like it's risky, or they want to be conservative during this time period. What's a new construction loan look like?
So rates wise, leverage wise, it's ultimately going to be very similar to a fix and flip loan. What we're going to do different is we're going to rip through the details of it, like, hey, how are you arriving at this number? Have you planned for cost overruns? I get a lot of investors that are very proud of their budgets and their abilities to forecast project costs. And without trying to insult them, I say, hey, make sure you're planning on the things that you don't see coming right now, right? So plan ahead, and then we want to try to fund as much of the construction as we can. And again, we want to try to put a little bit of money towards the land. So that way that investor feels less of the pain at the closing table. But most of what we're seeing is investors have kind of adapted to it and realized that if they take too much lending on the land, it's a debt carry kind of equation. So they're taking down the land, getting their permits in place, getting it shovel ready. you get a property shovel ready. I mean, let's go. We'll get it funded. We'll get you going.
Yep.
You can go knock out your build, which is really
Sure.
where people should be spending their time.
Yep.
Reduces overall cost
Yeah, that's
dramatically.
Great. That's great.
But yeah, you'll see leverages that are industry standard on
Yeah.
that end.
Yeah, that's
So
great.
we just make it easy,
Awesome.
super easy and super reliable.
Yeah.
That's what I want to focus on.
Yeah, very cool. We don't have much time left, but the last kind of minute or two here, what advice would you give someone that's looking at the market today? Would your advice be to find the opportunities and push forward? Would it be to get hesitant, diversify? Like, where would you kind of advise people in this
My
place?
advice is take emotion out of it.
Yeah.
This is at the end of the day, every investor is running their own small business.
Sure.
You got to leave emotion at home, even if it sometimes wants to override you.
Sure.
If you find a property that is a good deal, plan for the worst. If you
Right.
think that it's going to be a good deal in a 10%, 15% market adjustment, whatever we might see,
Sure.
right? And I'm not saying we will. I mean,
Right.
who knows,
Yeah,
right?
who knows?
If it still works with those numbers,
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
do the deal, go do the project, right?
Sure.
Just plan accordingly.
Yeah.
And if you got a deal that's marginal or barely profitable, yeah, I'd probably pump the brakes on that and look for something else. But
Sure.
I'm full boat forward. I myself, I'm looking for a couple of projects to go do right now, and I have a ton of investors. I actually walked 3
Yeah.
project sites today with folks that are getting
Yeah.
ready to go knock out some more. So
That's great.
the appetite's still there. Folks are still moving forward and investing, and it gets us pretty excited because we believe in housing.
Cool.
We believe in housing. We believe that this is around to stay, and regardless of what the economy says, real estate has always been the #1 way to build wealth in this country. So
Yeah, very good.
we continue to encourage investors to seek that.
How does an investor find you and find Fund That Flip?
Yeah, easiest way to find us is at fundthatflip.com, or if you're in Tampa and local, you can just give me a call. You can reach me at 239-537-5418. Shoot me a call, give me a text message, whatever. Happy
Okay.
to help you out.
Also, we'll make sure to put that on the screen. And then Fund That Flip, I've seen you guys on social and just about everywhere,
Oh, yeah.
so pretty easily found. But well, thanks so much for joining us today. Thanks for being a part of
Awesome.
Think Realty, and look forward to seeing you at the conference.
I appreciate it.
Yep,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Guys. Let me say a quick thank you to our podcast sponsor. The podcast sponsor is Real Property Management. Working with the right property management company can put more money in your pocket, not less. Real Property Management provides a higher standard of property management to make sure you're maximizing the return on your investments. Experience the real difference with Real Property Management. Visit realpropertymgt.com. That's realpropertymgt.com. Thank you so much for being a part of the podcast today. If you haven't been in the conversation with us, make sure you join us on social, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, all those social channels. And then you can pick up our magazine on the shelves of Barnes & Noble, anywhere that there's a Barnes & Noble local to you, or you can order it online and we'll have it sent out to you. For us, we are a companion to you. We want to provide the right data, the right information, put the right people in front of you to build the relationships and partnerships you need to succeed as a real estate investor. That's what Think Realty is all about. For more information, go to thinkrealty.com. Join us on social. Let us know what you need. We want to make sure we are giving you and putting the information in front of you that you need to make successful decisions, especially in this current marketplace. Thank you so much. Have a great day.